Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome once again to the Newsman Weekly Podcast, episode number 24. 6 full months of this podcast mania. My thanks to all of you for joining us once again.
And thanks to us, me and Richie.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, you guys, for coming to work on time and doing the
24
job.
Mondays in a row.
Well, yeah.
Minus one or two.
I missed a couple.
All right, yeah, well. And then there's Richie, who we don't know, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Hey, thanks again to local country singer Luke Watson for crafting this show's theme song. And folks, here we are, knee-deep into the holiday season. Thanksgiving is just behind us, and Christmas is coming at us like a bearded, fat, jolly man with an axe. The hustle and bustle has officially begun. Trees are being lit in houses across north-central Ohio. Wreaths are being hung. I see a lot of fake snowmen adorning yards. Outside lights are lit, and soon, by golly, it will be Christmas Day. I kicked off my own official holiday season over the weekend by watching the 1989 comedy classic Christmas Vacation. Chevy Chase, Randy Quaid, Beverly D'Angelo, and an all-round great cast. And as I struggled with my own 22-year-old artificial Christmas tree on Sunday, I could hear the immortal words of Clark Griswold, quote, "Take a look around you, Ellen. We're at the threshold of hell." Anyway, I got to admit, when my sons were all young, I was more into the Christmas decorating ideas. We had lots of stuff we hauled out and put up, and even did some outside lights just a few times. But now, I spend my holiday season being grateful I don't have to do all of that anymore.
Well, I spent we decorated real early, so.
I know, you ruined Thanksgiving.
I ruined Thanksgiving, and then I spent the Thanksgiving holiday weekend just with my feet up.
Yeah, okay. Well, at the voice you hear, I am joined once again by Zach Heiser, the executive producer of the Newsman Weekly. Welcome back, Zach. How was your weekend, and did you enjoy that Ohio State-Michigan game as much as I did?
Wow, you really you just love watching Ohio State fans suffer, don't you?
Well, I mean, if they're not playing Ohio University, I'm an Ohio State fan. I don't appreciate Ryan Day.
I don't either.
I think I told my wife right before the game started on Saturday, Ryan Day is a fake tough guy, and fake tough guy coaches make dumb decisions during games.
It's born on third base. It's true.
And when you're trying to prove how tough you are by running the ball up the middle, and you're not getting anywhere, and you've got great receivers, and you're not, how do you not target your great receivers more often than they did?
Yeah, in 5 years when those three receivers are going to be in the NFL and in the Pro Bowl, and you're going to look back at this game, it's like, why did Ryan Day run the ball almost 30 times?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
It really is.
I'm going to date myself here, but it reminded me of the first Sugar Ray Leonard-Roberto Duran fight. I lost a considerable amount of money betting on Sugar Ray Leonard in that fight because Leonard was a great boxer and Duran was a slugger. He was a puncher. He wanted to fight inside. And so I bet a lot of money on Sugar Ray Leonard because he had all the movement in the world. And then the fight started, and I found watching Sugar Ray Leonard go inside and try to pound and pound and pound with Roberto Duran. And I'm thinking, get away, fight your fight. Don't be stupid. Don't think, because Leonard said, I got to prove how macho I am by pounding with this guy.
Right.
And he got his tuchus beat.
Right.
And then they had a rematch and a couple of years later, and I didn't bet any money on this one because I didn't trust Leonard at all. But the second time, he danced, he did the movement, he fought like he knew how to fight, and he beat Duran so bad, Duran quit. That was the famous fight when Duran said no mas.
Okay.
In the middle of a round and walked away because he was so frustrated. I don't know if Ryan Day will ever learn that lesson.
That's what happened when you fail. Like at least he learned the lesson and stayed within himself. And yeah, that's 4 years in a row with doing the same coward coaching against Michigan. I didn't know you had a gambling history.
I did way back in the day. I mean, this was back when I went to see the Leonard,
on an app.
When I went to see the Leonard Duran fight, it was in Wheeling, West Virginia, at a movie theater because that was the closest you could get to have like closed circuit. There was no such thing as pay-per-view in the in your living room. You had to go, and it was really strange that night because about 30 seconds into the first round, they had a technical difficulty and the screen went blank. You haven't seen so many beer bottles being chucked at a movie screen from drunken coal miners and oil field workers and guys who were ticked off because they also had money on that fight.
Right.
And we missed about a round and a half. So, yeah, it was a wild night.
You know, so many decades later, Netflix still can't.
Exactly.
Still the same problems.
Nothing's changed there. Also back with us today, as he scurries around, is Knox Page's reporter Grant Ritchie, our show's official videographer. Ritchie, what in the world are you doing wandering around the room aimlessly?
One of the SD cards got full, so I had to switch it out. So we're only recording now with one.
Did you not think that put a new SD card in?
I thought it would be, it's my brand. Yeah, so I thought we would have enough
on the fly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Richie, did you put up your Christmas tree, and have you decorated your home for the holiday season?
No, I don't put a Christmas tree up because my cat starts biting at it, so I don't want him to get sick. So I just don't put a tree up.
Your cat bites your tree.
Yeah.
My cat does that. Cats do this.
Do they?
Yeah, they like to play with the ornaments, and they.
Oh.
Do you have a cat?
No.
Well, that'll explain why.
Clearly not.
I have a dog, and my dog don't mess with my tree.
Yeah. Well,
You know why?
He'll kick it.
Because my dog knows bad things happen to it if it messes with my tree.
Oh,
I take it
poor Miss
cats
Daisy.
don't learn those lessons?
No, they don't.
No, they don't really listen to authority in any way.
All right. Well, folks, if you're listening to this episode today on Tuesday, December 3rd, it is Giving Tuesday, which is a global day dedicated to generosity and giving back. And here in Richland County, we've got our own way to participate, Richland Gives. This online event, hosted by the Richland County Foundation, is all about building a stronger community by supporting local nonprofit organizations. You can donate by going to richlandgives.org. You can easily browse for nonprofits that you love and donate any amount. I'll throw in a shameless plug here for the Mansfield Playhouse.
Yeah.
They're a nonprofit organization that I'm an active participant with. So when you go to that website, give them a look and maybe show some love to local community theater. One of the fun parts about today, though, is that nonprofits are competing for prize grants awarded during special contests throughout the day. So your donation on Giving Tuesday could help your favorite nonprofit secure even more funding.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a way to give back, Richland Gives is a great opportunity. It's a movement to strengthen Richland County and show the power of community. To celebrate the day, we've got leaders of a couple of nonprofits coming in to join us in a few minutes to talk about the work their organizations are doing in the community. Those discussions are coming up in just a bit, but first we'll get to some news.
All right. And let me shout out a couple. We've got Skate Ohio and Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring coming on. Just one more thing on Richland Gives before we get to some news. It is an awesome, the platform richlandgives.org, you can go on your phone, you can go on your computer really easily. It's so easy to donate, like $5, $10, $15, $20. I usually like to kind of just give small donations to a bunch of different nonprofits I love.
Spread it around.
Even if you don't have a lot to give, it's great. These nonprofits love to see multiple donors coming in. So, we've got the guys coming on today. Some other ones. I wish we could have had more on. But some other ones, I was talking to some of our coworkers about nonprofits they support, and the new store was brought up. Taking Root Farms, Visual Bucket List, Open Arms, Altrusa. Those are just a few of the other ones. Obviously you've got, the Wren, you've got Mansfield Playhouse, like you said, you've got Buckeye Children's, Richland Academy. There's some bigger nonprofits. There's a bunch of small ones. So go check out richlandgives.org, and you can filter by category and look for, like, if you want to support the arts, if you want to support the environment. There's all kinds of ways you can browse and look for nonprofits. It's a pretty cool thing we do here.
So take all that in.
Yes.
Get out your checkbooks or your credit cards and do the kinds of things that will make a difference in this community.
I don't write checks.
They don't write checks anymore?
I don't know how to write a check.
Really?
Really.
You don't have a check?
I learned in high school, but then I just never did it.
Okay. Well, it's one of those older things.
I write checks sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah.
You write checks that you can't cash?
No, it's just for rent mostly, but yeah.
All right. Well, hey, in terms of news, the lowest of 3 construction bids for the Main Street Corridor Improvement Plan in Mansfield came in about $2.1 million, higher than estimated, driving the total cost of that project to around $19.3 million. And with the cost of the project rising, the Richland County Board of Commissioners agreed last week to assist with the project by waiving $450,000 in fees that the city of Mansfield pays to the county as part of its jail services contract. State law prohibits the county from providing funding directly to the city, according to County Administrator Andrew Keller, who will work with the city on the formal waiver deal. Nicholson Construction had the lowest of 3 construction bids for the sprawling project at about $17.7 million, which is about 14% above the estimate of $15.5 million. Other bids came in even higher. Shelley & Sands had a bid of $20.2 million, and Complete General Construction from Columbus had $22.1 million. Structure Point, which is an engineering firm with offices in Columbus, will get paid around $1.6 million to provide inspection services during the work. Now, this project includes a complete upgrade of Main Street from 1st to 6th Streets and Park Avenue from Main to Diamond Streets. Project is going to begin in late February or early March, depending on the weather, and they plan to be completed by October of 2026. And they'll do this kind of one block at a time to try to reduce the amount of impact on construction impact on traffic and foot traffic and everything.
Are they
else.
changing any? I know we can go read about the plan. That's all in your story, right? Like
Yep.
what the plan entails.
Yeah, but one of the things that'll happen is Main Street will get changed to two-way traffic as part of the project, and I know that's something that a lot of downtown folks have wanted for a really long time. So that will be part of all of this, and we'll have lots more information to put out as we get closer and as it begins. But just be ready. There's short-term pain for long-term gain through this process. Speaking of gain, Glenn Grisdale recommended Ontario City Council begin with, quote, small things in a great way for that city's 20-year comprehensive plan. The Reveille LTD Principal of Planning presented a comprehensive community action plan at a recent Ontario Council meeting, informed by more than a year of community insights and a 13-person steering committee made up of local leaders. The comprehensive plan is meant to look ahead 20 years and help the city prepare for developments as well as preserving its current positive traits. Grisdale and Adam Hoff, a professional engineer at Reveille, presented a community action plan to council members that included an analysis of 1,412 community member and student surveys. Now, one of their key focuses was the, quote, Old Ontario area, the oldest residential part of the city that includes where Park Avenue West meets Shelby, Ontario, and Lexington, Ontario roads near the Cove Coffee Shop, Ontario schools, and the Senior Center. They also presented a rendering of a potential downtown park, which might be situated near the Springfield Township Fire Department Station Number 1, west of Park Avenue West and Shelby, Ontario intersection. He said the land is currently owned by 4 different private property owners, but is not otherwise in use. Speaking of Ontario, you like these segues I got going on today, guys?
Very nice.
None of this was planned. I'm just noticing it as I go. Ontario senior Bodpin Miller is among the finalists announced last week for the Ohio Mr. Football Award, awarded by the Ohio Prep Sports Media Association. The winner will be announced Thursday at 4 p.m. in Canton prior to the start of the OHSAA Football State Championship games. They've awarded this awarded this honor every year since 1987. Several years ago, Lexington's own Cade Stover was a Mr. Football. And many years ago, when I was still in Fostoria, Derek Kidwell picked up this award.
Has Richland County had another Mr. Football since Cade, aside from Cade in the last decade or so?
Not that I'm aware of. Kurt Conrad or Larry Phillips could probably correct us if we're wrong, but Cade might have been the first to come out of Richland County since they started awarding this. Let's see. The OPSMA district chairs and officers selected those 8 outstanding finalists, 1 from each district. The voting process is nearly identical to that used to determine the Heisman Trophy winner. They have 221 registered members. They each get one vote, and that voting ended at noon on Monday. Miller was the Division IV Northwest District Co-Offensive Player of the Year, First Team All-Northwest District, First Team All-Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference, a Second Team All-Ohioan last year, and I suspect he will be a First Team All-Ohioan this year. And I believe he will graduate early, enroll at Ohio State in January, and begin to see how well he can matriculate with the Ohio State Buckeyes team next season.
And their new coach.
Well, hopefully. Well,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Someone said, well, is Bodpin still going to go to Ohio State if Ryan Day leaves? Well, I'm relatively certain Bodpin Miller is an Ohio State fan. I don't think he's going there because Ryan Day is the coach.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I just read a story. It said it was like $37 million for him to be bought out if he gets fired at the
Do
end
you
of the
think
year.
Ohio State can't afford $37 million?
I know, but that's just a lot of money to say to leave. That's like a big golden parachute, you know.
Speaking of Richland Gives, I might kick in $5. Whatever it takes to get Ryan Day just on down the road.
All right.
But, congratulations to Bodpin Miller, a really nice guy, great family, great parents, and it's great to see Bodpin up for that award. Hey, speaking of football, Hillsdale from Ashland County will play in the Division VII State Football Championship game on Friday
Let's go.
at 10:30 a.m. in Canton against powerhouse Maria Stein Marion Local. The Falcons are 14-1. They take on a Flyer team that has won 63 games in a row and is seeking its 15th state title, which would extend their own record. The good news is Hillsdale hasn't lost to a Division VII team this season, and they're coming off a huge 25-22 win over Danville and the boys from Tough Street last Friday night. Grant Ritchie, you have to be embarrassed, shocked, and dismayed by what happened to your boys.
Yeah, sure, it is disappointing, but they did make it to a championship game, which is pretty extraordinary. So, you can be happy about that, I guess.
Yeah, congrats on the great season, and Hillsdale, congrats as well. How do we beat Marion Local? How do we snap the streak?
Oh boy, I don't know, because Marion Local, they just don't. Marion
63
Local is
games
the team
in a row
that,
is insane. Is I don't know.
Yeah,
That's like UConn women's basketball. That's like UCLA with Kareem. Like, that's just unheard of.
Lucas fans will remember Marion Local. This is the team that defeated Lucas in the state championship game in 2019. Same coach is still there. If you look at their team picture in the program, I got to believe almost every boy that attends Marion Local High School plays on that football team.
Okay.
Because, it is just a massive group. I don't know. The only way you're going to beat Marion Local is to not make mistakes, because they won't make any.
Right.
They come out of the Midwest Athletic Conference, which, again, has two teams playing for state titles, because Coldwater is playing in the Division VI state championship game against Kirtland again. They had another team that was either in the regional finals or the state semifinals. And I'll say it again, it's harder to win a MAC title than it is to win a state title. Because those programs there are they're just insanely good. Obviously, anything can happen. Many years ago, I was covering Fostoria in the state championship game against, I think it was Akron Buchtel. Buchtel was a much better football team. And I asked Fostoria's coach before the kickoff, what are your chances? He goes, if we played 10 times, they'd win 9. We just have to hope this is our
one perfect game.
So
you never
Hillsdale,
know.
You always have a chance. So everybody from around here is going to be rooting for the Falcons.
And come down to Canton, 10:30 a.m. on Friday. I'll be there. I'm going.
Well, I will be watching from someplace warm. That's all.
From the press box. Come on down.
I don't know about that.
Let's go to
Anyway,
Canton.
that's enough news for now. Let's take a quick break. In a few minutes, we'll be joined by B.J. Price and Adam McElroy from Skate, Ohio, and then Jim Nicholson from the Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring Organization. Please stay with us here at the Newsman Weekly Podcast. Welcome back to the Newsman Weekly Podcast. As I said earlier, December 3rd is Giving Tuesday, which is a global day dedicated to generosity and giving back, all of which is near and dear to the newsman's heart. This is a huge day for local nonprofits through the Richland County Foundation, we thought it would be a great time to highlight some of the nonprofits in the community. And joining us now are BJ Price and Adam McElroy from Skate, Ohio. For those who may not know, Skate, Ohio is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that helps provide boards and equipment to people in need, putting on events and competitions to elevate the culture, and building and renovating new and existing skate parks in Ohio. Welcome back, gentlemen. You are the first ever repeat guests on the Newsman Weekly.
Wow.
Let's go.
Wow.
I'm
It's
not-
an honor.
I'm not sure if congratulations are in order, but here we are. So, hey, bring us up to speed on what's happened since you were here with us last year. You had a little project up in Shelby. Talk about that and anything else that's kind of been going on.
That's a loaded question. But go ahead, yeah.
No, we've been trying to go hard and do as much as we can, but the big news from last time, I think last time we announced that we got the donation from ArcelorMittal. Now we're here to announce that the park is done. We finished up and couldn't have done it without so many different local companies to the Shelby area who helped us. Lamb Construction, the local Ace Hardware there, just tons of just people who came and helped, like Brent Christie, Sam Sides, who helped us design, Ben Stover and Cam Riley, all local skaters to that area to give input on what we were able to do there. Mark Zeeb and Zeeb's Trucking, who helped us haul the obstacles that were built by ArcelorMittal that we put in place and then filled with concrete.
That are thousands and thousands of pounds.
Yes, we found that out pretty quick, that we had, like, every time I asked them, hey, how many guys and how big of a trailer do I need to come get these things, and they would just laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had to employ my buddy, who out of the goodness of his heart took time out to bring his crane truck over and lift them on and put them in place for us. So that was our kind of biggest, I'd say, accomplishment as of now, is to say that park is done. We had a grand opening. Hayden was there to cover the competition we put on. We got to do a ribbon cutting for that and everything. So that was just, it was a relief,
Yeah.
to say the least. It was just weeks of taking all the rest of the vacation that I had from work to go and work my butt off for 15 hours a day and make sure that park got completed in the time frame that we promised.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was probably the most difficult part, is getting it done to where it's still skatable, like the weather's still okay. But to BJ's point, I mean, you had a list of 25, 30 people and businesses that have helped us through this process. So, yeah, I mean, we definitely couldn't have done it without everybody else. No way.
Well, kind of describe the park. First of all, just remind people where it's at in Shelby, and also maybe just describe a little bit what people can expect when they go there if they haven't been there yet.
So the park is located in the Veterans Park area, what used to be called Town. It's like in the park development across from the hospital in Shelby there, and it's called the Louis Beach Skate Park, named so in honor of someone who passed away on the job back in 1995. And the Arcelor decided to keep that name because the Shelby Park Board said that, hey, if somebody fully funds this, they get to name the park. And so they decided to keep it the Louis Beach Skate Park, so that's what it is. We call it LBS, just for short.
Easier.
Yeah. So what you can expect when you get there is that all new concrete in the front entrance. You can go to our Facebook page or our Facebook group. We have a lot of before and after videos and pictures that show that whole entrance that was just broken, basically beat up concrete with a broken down water fountain that's all been pulled out. There's a quarter pipe at the entrance with the sign that was made by Likes Metalworks and Third Life Upcycling, made out of broken skateboards and metal. That just says a beautiful sign that says, that the Louis Beach skate park. And then, so the quarter pipe goes in. There's new banks that go down into the park with rails, which has been the most popular feature.
For sure.
All recycled basically from other parts of that skate park. We cut them down, welded them, and then put them at the entrance so that there's kind of a more, you can skate in and skate out. There's a manual pad and a ledge that was, the forms were made by Arcelor. We filled them with concrete. Moore's Concrete graciously donated a lot of concrete for us to get that done, and Harmon Quality Concrete did all the work for free because they're amazing. But we have those, and then we have the obstacles we bought from American Ramp Company, and those got installed. They have like a 20-year warranty. Anything happens, they send a team out to come and take care of it right away. And then there's one more rail that's going to be put in place here soon, and that's going to be it for now. And we saved a little bit of money, so we're hoping to continually add features to the park. There's enough room there. We'd love to continue to add features maybe every other year, something to just keep the park nice and fresh. And with us getting that done, kind of an agreement with the city of Shelby is to have like 1 to 2 events every year just to keep public interest in the park.
What's been the reaction, I mean, from the folks in Shelby that use it, and maybe some folks from out of town who come into Shelby to use that park? What's the feedback you've been getting?
It's been insane, to be honest with you. I've definitely never seen the Shelby skate park look like this. I mean, you'll go and maybe see 1 or 2 people every 5 times you go. And now, I mean, I don't know, there's 5 to 10 people every time you show up. The clips have been posted by actual pretty relatively, low level but famous skaters to some extent, and they've complimented the park and things like that. Everybody in Shelby loves it. I don't know if you have anything to add, but it's just it's multiplied. Like, this park hasn't been used this much in a decade or 2.
Cool.
The city workers were probably the biggest fans so far. They were just so happy to see somebody pour back into that park, and just all the people that live in that surrounding area, because it's just a big loop of houses around it. We had at least 1 to 2. Every time we were there working, 1 to 2 people would just walk over and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" We'd explain everything. They'd be like, "Oh, awesome. Thank you for doing this. This looks awesome." So the whole city.
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off, but the big thing too was the graffiti and the upkeep, right? So the big half pipe, we took down all the wood, replaced all the wood, painted it. Same with the quarter pipe that was there. Because, I mean, the whole thing was graffitied all around it. So we did that, and that's kind of an ongoing thing that we agreed with the city of Shelby, that any graffiti pops up. I mean, he sent me a video a week ago where there was just like a little tiny word in Sharpie, and he just does like a little happy dance, like, well, we're going to go take care of this today. And just a little video of just a paintbrush that one swipe, and he's like, okay, we're done. And it's just like, but that's what we're willing to do with this kind of agreement as well with other cities and things like that, as well as we'll also take care of the upkeep. So that's a big part too. But yeah, it's the people around the park are very excited because it looks better. The kind of vibe of everything is better there. The more people there, actually, the more people kind of get policed and things like that to make sure you're not messing it up. And, a lot of people have put their literally sweat, blood, I don't know about tears, but maybe some tears. We've had some tears, but
for sure.
Into this park. So it's very important that nobody messes it up. And that's just kind of the feeling of the whole community, which hopefully should last a long time.
Now, you guys have done such a great job as a relatively new nonprofit that you actually got, and I think you announced this at Richland Source Newsroom After Hours a few months ago, you actually got nominated by the Richland Area Chamber for Small Nonprofit of the Year before you're even eligible, because you haven't been around long. That's the kind of great work you've been doing. But talk about what that felt like.
It was kind of wild.
Surreal.
We worked really hard to get these polos made because
we got them like 2 days before because we were like, we have to look official, please.
So we worked hard with like the local company out in Ontario that does a lot of embroidery.
Yeah.
And they kind of did a rush order for us, and it was just super nice. But we were able to go to a breakfast where they announced, and we got to take pictures. And honestly, that even though like we're not technically eligible by all of their standards as of yet, we're 100% eligible next year, and I am for sure we're winning. Is what's
winning. Happening.
We said that walking in before we knew we weren't eligible.
Yeah, we're like, oh, we got this, and then they were like 3 years, and I'm like, can we just fib like for a day? And he's like, no, that'll ruin everything. I'm like, yeah, I know, but
some little number on a resume, guys.
Right?
That's all it takes.
So, but it has put us in touch with the other
So many people.
nominees and winners and stuff, to where just at that breakfast we made a couple pretty impactful not partnerships, but just like relationships, to where they contacted us afterwards. They're like, we got a partner.
Yeah,
now.
and they're
Let's
like,
do
we
something."
want to do an event at our business, and it's like, okay, yeah,
Yep.
we can definitely talk about that. We
Bring
can
the
make that work.
ramps and
Yeah,
rails and
yeah,
stuff.
Yep. So that's kind of what came from that, but it's still great. We still have the paper that states that we were nominated, which still feels great.
Yeah.
Well, I can say, as someone who partnered with you guys this year for Newsroom After Hours, and you brought we had a music show in the basement here, which I've talked about, and you guys brought the ramps, rails, and set up in the alley, and it was a great experience from my perspective. And like you were saying, like, the community really does a good job of policing itself, and it was just nice to have like we always kind of set up, we let people, take their drinks out in the alley. We close the roads and people smoke out there and stuff. But it's like nice to not know that like, Skate Ohio's got any issues that might arise out there. It just worked out really well.
I think that's because there hasn't been much skating, since we grew up. So my kind of loose theory is like all these people around the country that have always had skate parks and always access to skating, they can kind of take it for granted, more or less. So the people around here are seeing everything we're doing, and they're appreciative, so they don't want to ruin it, right? They don't want to mess it up. They don't want to put a bad name, not necessarily even on Skate Ohio, but just skateboarding in general. And I think that's what's keeping everybody kind of as a close-knit group, because I grew up skating basements. Like, that's what I had in the country in Belleville. We had a gravel driveway with, like, huge gravel, so I can't skate there. Right. Had a garage that I'd have to kick my mom's car out of. She'd be upset every day. And then plywood. Like, this is what I skated on for 8 years. You know what I mean? So even this, I don't really skate much anymore, but just the progress we've made, like, I'm so proud of it, and I'm not going to let anything happen to it.
Yeah, no, we're super proud of that stuff. And it was honestly just so... I breathed a sigh of relief after we left that first night that we did the Skate Ohio event here. I'm like, man, people who don't come to our other events came to this.
Yeah.
Like, we got to see new skaters and talk to new skaters and make those relationships and everything.
And I felt the same way, too. People that don't normally come to this event are here because they want to skate, and it's a free show. And yeah.
I mean, it's been interesting the last few years. I've seen such a rebirth, renaissance, or just increased interest in just skateboarding in general. And I know obviously that's you guys have played a huge part in that. I know we've seen the birth and growth with Liberty DIY, what they're doing out at Liberty Park, the Brass House Boardroom downtown, just a couple doors down from us. I mean, is it just coincidence that all of this kind of came into fruition roughly the same time? Or, I mean, does all this just feed on itself to help give skateboarding more momentum?
I have a theory.
We have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
Deep thoughts.
Deep
by
thoughts.
Jack. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, go back and watch old Saturday Night Live.
There you go.
So it kind of started with the Westinghouse going away and the Liberty guys looking for somewhere to call home. Landing at the Liberty, and that whole thing kind of started, and I think that was the kickoff point. So I really, we can't thank like Tanner and Gage enough for really kicking this whole thing off. They own the Adopted Park for Liberty. They are not like affiliated with Skate Ohio, although we both help each other out.
We're BFFs.
The Liberty guys, the last obstacle we had to do in Shelby was the quarter pipe at the entrance. I had no idea. I had no experience with like doing concrete quarters or anything, but Gage graciously, through his own time and everything, Cam came out, and we were able to finish that quarter pipe on a pretty cold day and get it done. So it's a lot of and we were there when they were building their concrete quarter pipe to help fill that and do all that stuff. So there's a lot of mutual stuff going on there, and then it just kind of built on that. And the theory comes into all the places that I've walked into that 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would have walked into and said, hey, we're trying to do good things in the community through skateboarding. They would have just said, okay, cool, get out.
Right.
But now you've got a new generation that's kind of in the higher positions, in the management
That's
positions.
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, and it's maybe not all of them have skateboarded, but all of them have played a Tony Hawk game.
Mm-hmm.
All of them have seen X Games. All of them have seen, or had a friend who skateboarded. So there's just there's a frame of reference now to people who are higher up in businesses that are like, skateboarding. Okay, I have a good memory of that. Maybe it's not skateboarding, but it's skateboarding related, fashion or video games or anything like that. But at least that gives us that foothold. I walked into Lamb Construction, just cold walked in. I told them I'd have a forklift when they showed up with these ramps next week,
and I had
to sign a thing that said there will be a forklift. And I'm like, I still haven't found one. And Darren over there is like, you got to go talk to Lamb Construction. I'm like, who's that? They're like, oh, the building behind the old Rite Aid. So I go over there. It's just a big empty warehouse, and I walk in just like, hello, anyone here? And he came out. He's like, hey man, how's it going? And I'm like, I just explained this is who I am, and I'm like, we're working on the skate park over here. He's like, cool, we have a skate park? Who knew?
It's like a half mile down the road.
Like it's like really close. And I just explained to him, like, we got the donations, we got this done, but I need a forklift, and it's got to be on this day at this time to unload everything. And he's like, sure, I'll be there. And then he called me a little later. He's like, I actually can't be there, but my guy will be there. And I'm like, how is this? I left just like, how is this? He had no idea who I was. Didn't know we had a skate park in Shelby, and still is like, yep, I will bring my 4,000-pound piece of equipment over and do whatever it is you need me to do.
Yeah, I met you 12 seconds ago.
Yes.
Sure, I'll help. Which is awesome.
And then he came back to move the quarter pipe again, because we had it out of the way to pour concrete, and then that quarter pipe was going to go on this concrete, and I had to call him and be like, hey, can you come move one more thing? And he's like, yep, I'll be there in a minute.
It's close enough that he just drove the forklift to us. Like he didn't have to load it up. No, it's like right around the corner. It was awesome.
Excellent. Now, I know that Skate Ohio's got some big plans for 2025. You're really hopeful, as all nonprofits are, to have a successful Richland Gives campaign. So fill us in on what's happening with you guys now, what you hope to get done next year. I know goals are things like parks, after-school programming is one of the ultimate goals. What do you have planned for 2025 that at least you can talk about right now?
I think our biggest is establishing a park in Mansfield. I think we talked about it briefly last time. Skate Ohio's plans for Mansfield area are a micro park system, which is just on a very small scale, something in each Mansfield Park that kids can come to. We found out with a lot of the events that we threw, a lot of kids can't make it because there is no transport. They have no form of transportation, so we would get different people at the different events. So trying to navigate what that looks like, there's some things behind the scenes that I've been working on that we can't talk about yet about transportation and stuff for that. But trying to figure out more ways to get more communities involved, and the city of Mansfield is on board. The mayor, I've had a meeting with the mayor, and we've talked to Louis Andre, and I've talked to Mark Abrams about a micro park system, and trying to figure that all funded through us. This isn't a tax dollar thing. This isn't anything. It's just finding a small piece of land that we could put, because of the partnership we now have with ArcelorMittal. A lot of those forms that they made for the Shelby skate park, they're willing to help us make and get done for other parks. So if we could get it funded now, we could have a park done by March, just because of all of these different associations.
Different options, yeah.
So that's kind of the biggest, is establishing that, trying to get Lexington fixed. It's another big one, but that's a big price tag. Been doing a lot of just walking into businesses, talking to people now, but that's
the one by the pool?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it, I mean, you don't have to go into it, but when you say fixed, it's just not usable right now?
Not usable.
Okay,
it's dangerous at this point,
well,
because
they sank into the asphalt.
Exactly.
There's these big lips. Like you'll see some bikes there from time to time, because it doesn't. But skateboards, it's scary.
You're gonna hurt yourself. Yeah.
So
I was down there last weekend trying to ramp off a couple of things, and I said, "Oh, this is unusable this year."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, me and my 8-year-old hip.
Well, yeah, and I would say I think our goals for this year or for 2025 are similar to 2024, to where we had kind of a base set of things that we wanted to do, which would be Mansfield, Lexington, events, all that kind of stuff. But I do want to say, too, Mansfield was always our first priority. That's the first thing that we wanted to either build a skate park or recently in the last few months, or I guess it's probably been a year now, we thought about the micro parks idea. But the reason we went to Shelby first is because that's where the money came from. So it's we get a lot of questions of, well, what are you going to do for Mansfield? When's Mansfield coming? And it's like, we want it to be there too. Like we can have 4 to 5 micro parks done in 2025, easy within, well, I don't want to put a direct timeline on it, but yeah, I mean, we wanted Mansfield done first, and that's kind of, what goes into this Richland Gives thing is that's the focus this year, is any money that's donated, not to like a direct cause, kind of like Shelby was, or Lexington, or things like that. Anything really donated outside of specific things are probably going to be turned into microparks. And that's really our first goal, to BJ's point. We realized a lot of kids can't get to Liberty from here or from, the other side of town. I mean, I live maybe a half mile away from here, and even driving, like, it's 10, 15 minutes. So I could imagine if you don't have access to a vehicle. So we want microparks done, and I think that is definitely the focus of Richland Gives this year for sure.
And the money really goes mostly to supplies, right? Just
concrete.
And
we're finding out, like, the idea is, like, we also have, like, so if you look at our Richland Gives page, we have a lot of different options, because the other thing that we don't like is people just giving us money and us not being able to give you anything other than a thank you. Right. There's different advertising opportunities on there that we've partnered with other businesses that give us the opportunity to give you exposure. We partner through Stoke Run, where they have like 40,000 social media followers, where like we can do some partnership where you give us some money, we're able to put some of that money towards us and some of that money towards Stoke, to where they can make it free for everybody to come experience their facility for free for a week, and then you get videos and constant shout outs and all of that stuff. We also found out that basically just to exist for 2025, it's probably going to be about $3,500 for us just to have insurance, to be able to pay for permits, to pay for doing the events with like the chamber, all of those things. Like, we just looked at this last year. It's like, oh wow, we had to pay for these things, and a lot of it came out of my pocket, right? And which is fine, but this year it's like, okay, we want to be professional and it be self-sustaining in a way, and we have to do that through donations. So that's a lot of it. We try to give more opportunities on that page to what, how can it benefit both of us.
I don't know whether this is you find this helpful or not, but now that you've gotten that large donation from ArcelorMittal, does that help you open doors to Mansfield Industries and say, look, here's what we got up in Shelby?
I'm going to use the word of the day. In theory. Because, yeah, I mean, that's really what we were talking about, too, when we were getting Shelby done. I mean, it would be good to say here that from the day that we got the check from ArcelorMittal to the ribbon cutting was 89 days.
Yeah, so you've got proof in concept.
Exactly. Yeah. So, in theory, it would kind of, we use that park to almost prove that we're not, over our head with this. We have a great board of directors that keep our head on straight, I guess, because we are both wild and have a lot of ideas.
Yeah, we're idea people. And
we're both. I
just thought of this.
We're both idea people, and like, I think I mentioned it before, but we're idea people with great planning, but also sometimes not great planning.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, we need something for this," and I just ramble off a paragraph. Like, what if we do this and this? And he's like, love it. And I'm like, no, dude, that was my first idea. Stop. Like, it's, so it's awesome. Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap this up, if you're listening to this show on Tuesday, it is Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday. So I'll give you 60 seconds. Make your best pitch to people who are trying to decide how to make donations today through the Richland County Foundation, and go.
If you could just click the link that we've shared and take a look at the opportunities that we have. Also on that page, we have videos that show who we are, what we're doing, and what we've done. We got great opportunities like our winter sessions that gives people to skate those last few months of winter that, around here you can't skate outside. We have an indoor facility where people can come and fellowship and skate and have some fun. If you can't do any of those things, the least you could do is share this. Share this to anyone you know. You have a business that you frequent, just tell them about us and say, hey, it's a great opportunity to partner with these guys because they get things done. Like Adam said, 89 days, we had a park completely renovated, redone, and skatable and ready to go. And we're willing to do that and work that hard in any other city that wants us to come in and make those things happen. But the best thing that you can do is go to our page, look at what donation opportunity fits you best, or if you can just give $5, $10, all of that goes to us getting good things done in this area.
And I will tell you, we will have all these links in the story. If you are listening to this podcast and you look at the story, there will be links to all the things that they're talking about today. So, guys, thank you very much. Best of luck with Giving Tuesday in the days, weeks, and months ahead. It's a pleasure to have both of you back. I don't have a lot of repeat guests because we haven't been doing it that long, but I'm glad it was you guys to kind of break the ice.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate
it. Man. I just want to say real quick that I was reading a thing that like most people have a top 7 podcast list that they go to all the time, and that's it. You guys are one of my top 7. I do love this podcast.
Well, there you go. We come highly recommended, people. So there you have it. That's one recommendation, Heiser. Put that one down for us. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be joined by somebody else who's hoping for some donation today, Jim Nicholson from Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring. Please stay with us. Well, welcome back once again to the Newsman Weekly. Joining us now is Jim Nicholson, Executive Director of Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring, which I believe was formerly known as Big Brothers Big Sisters.
That is correct.
For those who don't know, it's a nonprofit organization that matches children ages 5 through 16
That's correct.
with mentors and professionally supported mentoring relationships. Relationships is too many S's this morning. Can we just stop those, please? Good morning, Jim. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Carl. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, tell us about yourself first. Where are you from? What's your background? How long have you been with Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring? Because I remember you from way back in the day with Big Brothers Big Sisters. This is not your first time on the riverboat.
This is not. Boy, I was born and raised in Wisconsin. Go Packers.
Oh, okay. There we go. Packer owner right here. One
I
share
am.
of
Me
stock.
too. I got
There we
2
go.
shares over here.
There you go.
This
Look at
is gonna
that.
take a turn.
Yeah, Browns fans, Steelers fans, other fans,
we get it.
Cowboys
You've got the
fans.
coolest
Sit down. The Packers. There we go. You know what?
That's
I
right.
I knew there was a reason Jim was coming in. And,
That's right.
And we're going to spend the next half hour talking Packers football.
That would be great. But I was born and raised in Wisconsin. I went to school in Wisconsin and at the University of Wisconsin. And, I've always wanted to work with kids. And, I started with in the courts where kids were already offended and we're trying to put them on the right path. And then I did that for a while. And you work in that position and you stand up with kids that reoffend over and over again. And so I felt like I wasn't doing my job right. So I decided I was going to go to aftercare where kids were getting released from detention and going to halfway houses, trying to make sure that they're going to make better choices, get them back into society. And you'd see those same kids reoffend over and over again. And I started to think, there's got to be a way to get to these kids before they make the bad choices that end them up in the system, because that system is so unforgiving. And that's when I started thinking about mentoring. And I got involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, trying to get these kids before they make those bad choices so that they can stay out of the system and live long, happy lives.
And how did you end up down here in Richland County, Ohio?
Oh, that's a story. Let's see. I was in Wisconsin, and it was cold, and my wife is a primatologist, actually. She works at OSU. And I told her, when you get your PhD, I just want to move somewhere warm. And she came home one day and said, how does Africa sound? And so I was thinking Florida, but Africa sounds great too. So we packed up our stuff, sold our house, and moved to Africa and lived in a tent for a little over 3 years studying monkeys.
Wow.
That was quite the experience. And while we were there, after we returned, we went to Philadelphia. Then my wife got hired at OSU. And so you can do social work just about anywhere. And mentoring is important for all kids all across the United States. So we came here to Mansfield, Ohio, and I looked up Big Brothers Big Sisters and started working with them back in 2005, actually. And I took over the agency in 2008.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, so you and your wife, you guys didn't have any connection to Mansfield or Richland
No.
County before? Was it the opportunity with Big Brother, Big Sister that brought you here? Or
No, it was we were following her career. Being the
Social
PhD.
work,
Yeah,
yeah.
so she was working at the University of Pennsylvania, writing up all her research from what we did while we were following those monkeys in Africa. And when she got back here, OSU was looking for a primatologist to
Right.
have some students that would go abroad and then also teach primatology here at the OSU at the Mansfield campus.
So you have to confess, I kind of knew what the answer to that question was because I've heard Jim's wife speak before and kind of tell that story. And
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not
see?
know that you lived in a tent in
Oh,
Africa
yes.
for 3 years studying monkeys. That sounds like just a good podcast episode on its own.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
we
would
have
be.
to. We should have you and your wife both in at the same time, and she can tell the truths, and you can tell the made-up stories about what's life. Give us before we talk more about Big Brothers, or before we talk about Mid-Ohio mentoring, youth mentoring. Give me your best. Oh my God, I'm in a tent in Africa story.
Oh boy, there's a lot of them. Let's see, which one do I want to tell? So, we'll skip the leopard attack. Let's go with.
Wait, if leopard attack is number 2 on the list, I really do want to hear number 1.
Yeah, it is just long. So we were in Africa and we were settled and really realizing that we're not going to have children. That was the whole point, is weren't going to have kids ourselves, and we had come to terms with that. I had always wanted kids, but my wife didn't at the time. But we had we lived in a delta, in the Okavango Delta, which is flooded half the year, and we pulled in a boat, and you pull into this lagoon, and it gets really shallow, and weeds get wrapped around the motor, and so we pull it in, the motor kills because of all the weeds. We pull the motor out of the water, and we turn and look, and there's this big male bull elephant standing on the shore, and he looked at us and shook his head about twice and then came right at us. And, I mean, he got within splashing distance. He splashed us as he ran up to us, but he stopped, and ever since then, my wife decided that her biological clock was kicked into order, and we decided that we wanted to have children. So, so now we have children because of the fact that we got charged by an elephant. How about that? She's afraid of elephants to this day, but she's not afraid of kids anymore.
That's outstanding. That's a story to tell your grandchildren about at some point. The only reason you're here is because of a bull elephant.
That's true. It's a true statement.
So. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the organization that you're leading.
Yes.
How many youth are currently being mentored today through your organization? And I assume there's got to be a waiting list for a service like this.
For sure. There's always more kids than there are mentors in our program. We have about 102 matches in our community-based program, which is the traditional matching program, what most people think of when they think of mentoring in the community. 4 hours a month is all it takes for these volunteers to spend time with the kids to actually have an impact on their lives. So those are the guys, the women that are 18 and older, sign up to be a mentor, go through our background checks, and then we match them up with a child based on the mentor's strengths and the needs of the children. So there's about 100 of those, and then we have another 180 matches in our after-school programs, and there are 5 locations running now. We have one at the Friendly House, one at the Shelby schools, one out in Gallion at the schools there, one at Crestline schools we're just starting up, and then one at the DeWalt Center that are serving about 180 kids an hour once a week after school.
I would assume this waiting list, you are in probably more need in this. I don't want this to sound sexist, but knowing guys as I know guys, you probably are in need of more male mentors than you are female mentors at this point.
For sure. I mean, we do have that 102 matches in the community-based program, but on that list is another 111 kids waiting, of which 82 are boys.
Oh, wow.
So only about 20-some girls and 82 boys are waiting on that list. They run the ages from 5, like you said, 5 to 16 when we match them. We do keep matches open until the kid's 18th birthday if they're matched prior to their 16th birthday, just to keep them involved and connected to the program. But yes, there are so many more boys than girls, and it's 4 hours a month. It's funny, I try to frequent like golf courses and fishing spots, and I hand out flyers to guys who must think I'm nuts as I'm walking down the fishing mud pit trail. I'm handing them flyers saying, hey, you got 4 hours a month. Why don't you have a kid to sit here with you and fish? just trying to get more guys
Right,
involved.
and that's the thing too. It's like, what kind of objections is there? Just kind of a misperception with guys, or is it like, I mean, maybe women are a little more apt to like do this and take on a mentee, but like, what would you tell us sitting here? We're three guys that don't do this program, so I mean,
yeah, don't fear the commitment. It's
Yeah.
easy. It's so much easier than most people think, and I think guys, I don't know if they put pressure on themselves to make it bigger than it needs to be, but it really is things that you're going to do every day anyway. If you play basketball, or if you go for walks in the park or bike rides or out for pizza or to the movies, or even if you're just going to run some errands, to pick up a child from our program and bring him along, it's the time that he sees you interacting with the cashier at the store or interacting. You're going to have a family cookout. You bring him along to that. That kind of stuff is
just normal interactions.
Yeah, it's them watching you interact with other people that they learn the most from.
And you can take them to like a baseball game in Cleveland, or like that's allowed.
You can,
right?
yes, you can. And what's so great nowadays is we're sitting well enough off. And I've always heard, there's two primary barriers to getting guys to sign up or getting anyone to sign up to be mentors. And one of those is, it's expensive. It's expensive to take a child to the movies and then out to eat. And the other one is always, I don't know what to do with a kid, so I'm not sure what to come up with to do with a child. And we've worked really hard at our office to alleviate or eliminate both of those barriers now. We'd hold monthly events at the agency so that if you for 1 month didn't want to think about what you were going to do with a kid, you could just come to our event, whether it's we open the gymnasium and the swimming pool at the Friendly House for a Saturday afternoon. In February, we rent out the arcade over in Galleon. So for 4 hours, it's all free games and free food at the restaurant and things like that you can do with your mentee if you don't want to plan something yourself. And we try to do one of those each month. And now we're actually able to. We partnered with so many of the local businesses and are sitting well enough financially that if you wanted to take your child to the NFL Hall of Fame, we've worked out a deal with them so that we get the kid for free, and then we just end up paying for the mentor. But we pay for it, not the mentor.
Right.
So we're trying to make it virtually free for our mentors to do it. All it's going to cost them is their time and their gas money.
That's cool.
So the more we can get that word out, I'm hoping the more we can impact the waiting list of kids that we have.
And just a reminder, we are talking with Jim Nicholson, Executive Director of Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring. If you're listening to this show today, or Tuesday, December 3rd, this is Giving Tuesday, which is a global day dedicated to generosity and giving back. It's a huge day for local nonprofits like the one Jim runs through the Richland County Foundation to participate and donate to organizations doing great work. And we're using today as a great time to highlight some of the nonprofits in the community, especially some of the smaller ones that might not get the attention that some of the others do. Jim, if an adult wants to become involved as a mentor, what types of folks are you looking for, and what's the best way for them to proceed?
Yeah, that's a great question. Anyone over the age of 18 that goes through our screening process, our background checks and things is qualified to be a mentor. I think some of the best mentors we have are the empty nesters. Some of the empty nesters that that have their kids that maybe just going off to college or have just been at college for a year or two. They have the time on their hands, they have the means, and they love to hang out with a new kid that they can then take home at the end of the day, which is always a fun thing for them to do. Also, our younger parents with kids that are maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, if we match them to a child that's also 6, 7, 8, or 9 years old, that can hang out with their kids, and they're going to be doing things with their kids anyway, so picking up an extra child and bringing them along is pretty easy for them. So really, anyone over 18 that has 4 hours a month is our target population for being mentors.
And as a parent with a child of 5 and 8, it's always easier with another kid for them to play with around,
Well, and just think of what it teaches your kids when they see you giving back
Sure.
in that sort of way. It really activates those kids to see the value of volunteering and the value of mentorship, and then they typically end up signing up themselves when they get to be high school age, and then they become my high school mentors, and then they go off into the community. It's like contagious. It it grows from just a dabble to
people just got to get over that awkward hump of like, hey, I'm going to meet a new kid, and I'm going to sacrifice a little of my time for something, and just get over that hump, and then it seems like it's a really rewarding.
It is,
great
and it
thing.
can be. It does. It feels like a blind date. It feels a little weird when the first meeting and everybody's awkward, and and you're being introduced to a family that you've never met before. So I get that it's weird, but no one's forced to do our program. Everybody that's here wants to be here, and that's what's so awesome about the kids in the program. I mean, there are struggles. Some kids might be real shy and quiet at first, but eventually they open up, and it's just a matter of consistency and time.
Yeah, I raised 3 boys that are all in their 30s now, and I would have loved to have had them go hang out with a responsible adult male as opposed to what they had to deal with when they were growing up. But all right, tell me about the ways mentors benefit mentees. I mean, I know you can take them places, do things with them, but just beyond that, what are the kids really getting out of this?
So, I mean, we do a program outcome evaluation each year to measure the effectiveness of our program, and we measure 21 different developmental assets, but then we group them. And so the kids really, they grow in their self-confidence, they grow in their ability to make relationships and form positive relationships with their peers along with their parents. They increase their academic abilities. Some of the matches will work on homework with their child if they're struggling. So I mean, it can run the gamut from self-confidence to even job placements. I mean, some of these older kids work with some of our mentors that help them with job applications or college applications, and I mean, the sky's the limit. It's just a matter of any adult in the life of a child that's giving their time to better that child is going to find ways to make them more productive and happier adults.
Now, I know in addition to trying to seek funding here, you guys also do at least, I think, 2 big fundraisers here. I think you had a purse bingo fundraiser, and I know coming up in a couple of months, the comedy night, which is probably one of my favorite things to go to every year because you guys get some outstanding comics. Talk about what do you got coming up this year?
So we got Greg Warren coming again this year. He was back here in 2013, I believe, but he's a great guy. We do get some big talents. So we have a guy that used to write for what was that show on TV where they had the comedians. Anyway, Last Comic Standing. Last Comic Standing.
Yeah.
And Scott Dunn, he was a mentor, a big brother with the agencies over in Indiana. And he has all the connections. And so we use him to book our talent, and it's all donated. So those comedians come here for very, very low price, and at $20 a ticket, it's the best $20 you'll spend all year for sure to see the comedians out at the LeaderCrons. But February 1st is what we're shooting for this year, and it should be a pretty great show.
I think it probably will be. All right, now today is Giving Tuesday, so we have a lot of nonprofits that are looking for folks to make donations. So give me your best 60 seconds on why Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring is a very good place to donate funds today.
All right. Well, Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring, I mean, we're able to work with a bunch of kids that sometimes get overlooked is the issue, I think. We're looking to raise some money to help continue to supply our mentors and the kids with the ability to go out and do things so that it doesn't cost our mentors anything but their time and their gas money. We want to be able to supply those kids with experiences and or opportunities that they would otherwise not get to have if they didn't have a mentor in their lives. Another thing we're trying to raise a few bucks for is our Parties with a Purpose. Our after-school programs, our high school mentors, these are high school kids mentoring elementary school kids. It's a win-win situation. Of course, the elementary kids get that cool older kid to look up to, ask advice from, help with their homework, but those older kids get so much out of it, that value of volunteerism, that sense of purpose, that responsibility, and having a kid look forward to seeing them each month. But we throw parties at those after-school programs, and with the cost of everything going up, the cost of those parties have gone up quite a bit, so it's actually exceeded our budget for those programs. And so we're trying to raise a few bucks so that we can continue to throw the parties that are going to keep those mentors and mentees inspired, engaged, and excited to participate in those after-school programs and get the benefits without even knowing it.
How cool is it, from what you spoke about earlier, from your earlier career where you're trying to help kids that have already made that big mistake, to working with young people to help them prevent from making that first mistake? That's got to be a different mindset, more rewarding, perhaps?
It is way more rewarding. And I mean, you might not ever know, but I mean, you get the feeling, you get those kids that you feel, each year I go to the Mansfield Senior High's graduations, and each year I have some of those kids that we matched in our program that I didn't think really had a hope of making it, and they are walking the stage with their class with the help of their mentors, and their mentors are always sitting there front row, proud as could possibly be to see those kids walk, and I'm in that crowd just beaming with pride, knowing that we made an impact on that kid.
Well, very good. I'll put some links into the story with the podcast, but where can people go on the internet to get more information about Mid-Ohio Youth Mentoring?
You can look us up at midohiouthmentoring.com. That's our website, and on there you can find a bunch more information, some inspiring videos, and a link to our application if you're so inspired to join us.
Well, Jim, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We appreciate you getting up so darn early.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much. And remember, Giving Tuesday, all these causes out here are great. So dig deep for the kids and for all the different causes.
Very good. Folks, we'll leave it at that for today. I'll be back in a second to put a bow on this week's podcast. Until then, please remember what Mark Twain said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.